Chapter 9. Goodbye, gorillas. Jack couldn't stop smiling. He had scared off a leopard. Bubba and Ho-Ho stared at Jack with awe. Annie looked at him with awe, too. "When did you learn to do that?" she asked. Before Jack could answer, he heard a rustling in the brush. Then Big Guy stepped out from the shrubs. The giant gorilla walked silently over to Annie. He took Little Guy from her and put the baby on his back. Then he touched Annie's cheek gently. Annie grinned at him. Bubba and Ho-Ho ran to Big Guy and clung to his legs. The giant gorilla barked at the small ones, directing them to come with him. As he walked past Jack, Big Guy stopped. "Oh, oh, oh," he said in a low voice. He reached out toward Jack. Jack ducked, but the silverback patted him on the head. Then he and the small gorillas moved out of sight. Jack felt as if the top of his head were glowing. "Wow," he whispered. "Did you see what he just did?" "Yeah," said Annie. "He must have watched the show you put on. He was proud of you." "Well, he was proud of you too," said Jack modestly. Annie nodded, smiling. "I guess it's time to leave now," she said. "Leave?" said Jack. "We have to say goodbye now," said Annie. "Goodbye?" said Jack. He didn't want to say goodbye to the gorillas. He loved them. They were totally great. "Yeah," Annie said softly. "Come on." She led the way back through the shrubs, around the trees, to the clearing. They found all the gorillas awake. Some were stretching and yawning. Others were munching on grass or leaves. The baby was back in his mother's arms. Bubba and Ho-Ho were chattering away to their moms. "They're probably telling them what I did," Jack thought. He and Annie walked over to Big Guy and stood in front of him. The other gorillas gathered around. "We have to go now," Annie said to all of them. "We have to say goodbye," said Jack. "Thanks for letting us be a part of your family," said Annie. She and Jack held up their hands and waved. The gorillas looked sad. They murmured soft sounds. Big Guy lifted his hand in the air as if he were about to wave, but instead the silverback raised his thumb, his index finger, and his little finger. "I love you," the gorilla signed. Jack couldn't believe his eyes. Annie signed back, "I love you." Jack signed too. The silverback stared at them for a long moment with a gentle, shy look. Then he turned away and gave a short bark to his family. All the gorillas lined up behind him. The baby's mother held her baby close. Ho-Ho rode piggyback on his mom. Bubba held her mom's hand. The silverback started away from the clearing. The others followed. Bubba was the only one who looked back. She screeched and waved at Jack and Annie. Then she walked away, out of sight. Jack couldn't talk. His heart was too full. He took a few steps in the direction of the gorillas. "Hey," Annie said softly. "You're going the wrong way." Jack looked back at her. "The treehouse is over there," she said. She pointed in the opposite direction of the treehouse, peeking out from the fog. Jack sighed, then he turned and started to follow her out of the clearing. "Oh, don't forget this," said Annie. She leaned over and picked up Jack's backpack from the grass. She handed it to him. "Thanks," he said. They kept walking. "And don't forget this," said Annie. She picked up Jack's jacket from under a tree. She handed it to him. "Thanks," said Jack. He tied his jacket around his waist. They kept walking. "And don't forget these," said Annie. She pointed to the flashlight and an umbrella. They lay on the grass under the wide, mossy limbs of a fat tree. Annie picked them up and carried them herself. It started to drizzle again just as they got to the rope ladder. They climbed up into the treehouse. When they got inside, they looked out the window. Jack hoped to catch one last glimpse of the gorilla family, but there was nothing to see. A white mist covered the cloud forest. Annie picked up the Pennsylvania book. She pointed to a picture of Frog Creek woods. "I wish we could go home," she said. Suddenly a joyous screech rang out. The happy, wild sound shot through the white mist, through the cool rain, straight into Jack's heart. He opened his mouth to answer the call of the gorillas, but it was too late. The wind began to blow. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still, absolutely still.